At what point did you decide you were never going to be rich? Never going to be exceptional, but that was ok. I knew I wasn't going to be rich when I found the job I love. It is seasonal work, early spring to early winter. With chaotic hours, I find out my shift the day before I work it. Usually working 8-15 hours, and lower pay $13.50 an hour, but I'll be damned if I don't love it. I get paid to sit on my ass all day, reading books, and checking a sample every 15 minutes. My office is amazing, as I'm about 100 feet from the Mississippi River, and I don't deal with people. It is easy to get time off, my coworkers are super laid back, and my boss is fantastic. Nobody yells at me. I don't have any high expectations held to me. I adore the job, and it makes me very happy. What is this job, if you don't mind me asking? It sounds almost like my wife when she was a golf pro that specialized in teaching. From March to October, she would work from 6 a.m. to nearly 10 p.m. 6 days a week. Hourly, she only made about $8 but got $35 share of teaching and ran a golf camp for teenagers. Money was great in the summer, but we were young and stupid, and in winter she would work 20 hours per week at her base salary with an occasional lesson. I worked for a brokerage and worked 10-12 hours a day and made good money, but we never saw each other in the summers. I worked for European markets and filled in for our Asian market analysts when they were understaffed, so I had to be at work before the European markets opened and stayed until us markets closed. If I couldn't sneak away earlier, I would be in bed when she got home. It was miserable, and it put a strain on our marriage because we could never coordinate our schedules to spend any tea together. There is a sense of accomplishment from getting paid to read or browse online. Feels like you beat the system. I was about a 30-year-old chef. 50 now. Still love it, have a family. Work too hard for too little. Don't get to see them as much as I like, but if they need shoes or money for sports registration, I can provide. Just posted this above, but I thought given your username you would appreciate it. It is no bad thing to celebrate a simple life. Jar or Tolkien. Rue, that's sad. I hate that some people work really hard and still struggle. Also a chef nearing 30. Been touted as talented with potential my whole career, but fight for scraps when it really matters. I fight like hell for what I believe I'm due, and ultimately never earn it. I'm convinced that the pandemic is a sign that I'll never work in a professional kitchen again. I don't want to be quite frank. I've never earned more than $50 in a year. Why would I want to continue on this path? I've set my sights on becoming an educator, because I just seem to have a knack for that when I'm put in management roles. I love cooking and the expression it offers, but I haven't even owned a vehicle or had a stable relationship in my life due to how much I've earned. That's what hurts the most. The thought of never having comfort in any regard or financial stability. Chefs really deserve more money. I know it is hell in the kitchen. I've decided it, but I'm still not up with it. Lol to the. I don't think I ever wanted to be loaded. Just enough to not have to worry about going over my overdraft all the time. I'm more bothered by the fact that I've worked hard and studied to end up in a minimum wage job which bores the pants off me. But I have a roof over my head and a loving partner and family, so I'm still lucky. What do you study? Same here, minimum wage job. It is boring, but in my area it has a lot greater earning potential than more serious jobs due to overtime and overtime rates. I accepted that it was reality at 25 when I was stuck in bed with a disabling illness and no hope of recovery. The possibility existed, and I did recover enough to be functional, but none of my specialists fed me false hope. We were scraping by on one call center income, and I still am not okay with it. I don't want fuck you money. I want small topped house, reliable car, able to pay my bills money. I want the joy I had shopping for my dad as a teen and buying groceries. I never thought, do we have enough money, or paid attention to the cost. I just went in and bought the list. All I want is for my bills to get paid and have some leftover for fun and the future. I got there briefly before COVID, but my hearing is getting worse and I can't go back into that field full time. I tell everybody making less than $14 should get a job bartending. I make more in a weekend than I did in 2 weeks in my last job. Maybe wait a few months for things to really start opening and it to get warmer, but it's great money. I'd be fine with having the middle-class life my parents had. What is difficult is wrapping my head around just that being so difficult to achieve. My mom stayed at home, only my dad worked. We had a comfortable house with a yard and a pool, 2 cars, and my sister and I went to private school. My dad definitely had a good job, but nothing extreme. My husband and I both work and we can't even afford a house. I feel like it will take me 10-15 more years to get to where my parents were at the age I am now. It is not you. It was definitely easier 50 years ago, at least here in the US. Wage stagnation, housing crisis, shrinkflation. This has been happening since the 80s. Edit. It's not your fault. It is harder for everyone in their 20-40 range. People in their 50s and 60s grew up when America was booming economically, and if they went to college it wasn't expensive in comparison to earnings and other big purchase. I genuinely have no idea how my parents supported our lifestyle as kids. We were straight middle class, and I know they suffered around the recession, but we had a pool, went on a family vacation each year, and I got to do basically whatever sport or hobby I wanted. Now that I'm an adult and making what is considered the average salary in the US, I don't know how you support 2 kids on this. I never thought I'd be rich when I grew up. I'm content enough with a simple, stable life. Same here. I always strived to not be poor. Same. I'm not ambitious at all despite working very hard in uni. I just want a stable job that allows me to provide for a family and be relatively comfortable financially. Nothing extravagant. I think partly it has to do with the fact that my generation grew up with the 2008 economic crisis and now COVID, so we were naturally not very optimistic about the future. Same. I was smart as a kid, in the top 1 of my year, and therefore smart enough to realize that I had choices. I chose to live a happy, simple life over one with wealth and stress. No regrets. Goal of life is to be happy and spread joy into those around you, not being rich and famous. This kinda confuses me. My only goal throughout life was to be stable and happy with a partner. Same. Grew up poor. My parents worked very hard to not be poor, to the point where dad became violent, angry, and anxious 24/7. I saw what being too devoted to the dollar can do. I make double your salary right now, but did I have to work 12 hours a day, develop high blood pressure, alcoholism, and beat up my kids to do it though? When I started taking antidepressants, I used to be so sad about my life and really suffering from gifted kid syndrome. Everyone told me I'd be something, and I was struggling with self-hatred for not living up to that. Once I got my depression under control, I realized how comfortable I am with my life. I've got a job with good benefits and a respectable salary. I live in an apartment that's comfortable for me. Not too huge, but not a shoebox. I realized I don't want or need to make a ton of money or live in a big house or have a fancy car. Middle of the road is peaceful and fulfilling. Edit. Well, the reception to this comment was huge. Thank you to everyone who replied with their similar stories. I hope you can all find this kind of peace in your journeys soon. Also, if you were a gifted kid that started struggling after high school, get tested for AD. If I had $1 for every gifted kid I knew who hit a wall after school and ended up diagnosed with AD, I could probably buy Reddit. I tell myself often that I'm living a life that most people in the world can only dream of: good health, a loving family, a safe house to live in, and good food in the table. It really is enough. The moment I stopped trying to be rich and exceptional was the moment that I finally accepted myself for who I am. My only goal from that point forward was to be happy. Now, that does involve financial goals to a degree and also feeling useful, so I may yet be rich and exceptional, but I'm going to be happy regardless. As a musician, I feel this. I respect this, but it scares me. The happiest I ever am is when I'm on drugs. I'm a professor, and I was at an R1 university. There you are expected to write grants, and usually the professor opts to pay themselves out of the grant money for the things they are doing. Professors can get rich from this, especially in engineering, medicine, etc. It is how you become famous in your field. I hated it. I moved to a teaching-focused university. I like to be done when I go home at night. I like snowboarding. Lego. I am infinitely happier. Less money, fame, but who cares? Edit note. The idea is that at an R1 the base salary after tenure is usually around $100,000. And an R is usually around the salary. This use add on contracts, grants, speaking fees, etc. Can double that. In most college towns in America, if you make anywhere near $200,000, you can pay your mortgage off in less than 10 years and you will never worry about money again. I mean normal person rich, not yacht rich. An engineering professor who likes Lego. Color me surprised. The research professor describes my dad perfectly. He was a bachelor until his first marriage at 43, and I was born when he was 45. My entire childhood, he would go to his university office on Saturdays because he wanted to make more progress on his research. I remember times when he would drive me home from school, cook dinner, put me to bed, and then go back to the university to check on a simulation program that he'd written. He had to present at a conference in London in early October 2001, so I remember being terrified that something bad was going to happen to his flight soon after 9/11. He only gave up his university office and stopped taking on new grants a couple years ago. His research partner, 10 years older than him, is still pursuing new grants and working like mad. It's a certain kind of passion, but a lonely one. Exactly why I'm happy being a staff scientist. Academia was almost the death of me, one of the most stressful jobs out there and not nearly worth it money-wise. Early 40s was when I finally realized none of those big expectations would come true for me. I held on for a long time, but it's all okay because life is still great without the big dreams I had set for myself when I was young and naive. Young and full of hope. Unfortunately, we all lose it little by little as we get older and life takes over. It's never too late. Late teens is when I knew I would never been rich. As a child, I was certain I'd never be exceptional. I was never ever oak with I'm 41 and have more than I could ever imagine. It is really funny how things work out. Too bad I have very good imagination. I have very good imagination. Very Same with me. I'm 44, and as a kid with a learning disability, which was probably, and I never thought I'd own a house, have a family, or any sort of decent employment. I'm not rich, but I'm way better off than I thought I'd be. When I was a kid, I was born poor, grew up poor, saw how damned difficult it was to just go from poor to not poor, much less from poor to rich. Same here. It taught me that you don't need to be rich and that vast wealth is a waste of money. When I decided the only thing I care about is playing music and I wanted to do it for a living, thanks for the silver. It is my first one. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. And your chicks are for nothing. You for your friend with friend for the need for the When I first moved out of home and realized that my bachelor's degree doesn't mean shit, because I'm now living like people who've never went to college in their lives. I barely made it through college and I make 3 times as much as my brother with 2 and I was making more than my father ever made by 30. Education does not equate wealth. Neither does hard work. I worked 10 times harder and people had much higher expectations when I was making minimum wage than when I was making $100. I see this a lot on Reddit and I am just gonna throw it out there for any potential college-bound grads. Downvote if you want, but if you disagree, you are wrong. End of discussion. This isn't true for everyone. There are tons of profitable degrees. You think STEM, but many outside of STEM too. Don't let posts like these discourage you. But also know you can make a great living without any degrees too. They always made it sound like being a college dropout was the worst possible thing, like it only happened to losers with no future. I dropped out of college combination of illness and advisor issues, and the fact that everyone is in the same bed situation right now makes me feel a little better. Plus, I don't have any student loans, which is pretty nice. I'm always curious when I hear stories about this. What was your degree? And when you were pursuing it, what did you expect it would provide you with that you aren't getting? I read a quote in a wishy-washy magazine or blog that said you are enough. It was about how consumerism makes you feel like you have to buy stuff. It wasn't like I linked my goals or finances to that or made any quick decision, but it led to a path of self-acceptance and contentment that changed my perspective on a lot of things. But I grew up on the verge of poverty and benign neglect, so pretty much anything is okay by me anyway. I read another phrase once: the hopelessness of growing up poor in a rich country. I think a lot of people live with that hopelessness and never had a dream. I work with dogs for a living. I make enough to pay my bills, but I'll never be rich. I'll never own a home of my own without roommates. One of my biggest pet peeves is the fact that people often shit on me for having a menial job. They basically call it a cop-out. It is too easy. I'll always be poor. Why don't I find something better? But I wake up every morning not dreading going to work. I don't fantasize about strangling my boss because she is flipping awesome. I don't come home completely stressed out and hating life because I'm stuck at a job that I hate with people who annoy the hell out of me. A bad day with a dog is still better than the best day with humans. It must be nice to go to work at 10 and be home by 3. My roommate regularly scoffs. You were right. It is nice. And my rent is paid, so enjoy your 8-5, buddy. Edit. Thank you so much for all the awards. For some more context, I am a pet care provider. Dog walking and pet sitting are our primary functions, but we offer other services such as basic training, administering medications, and transportation for vet grooming appointments. I pay for my own health insurance, and I'm covered under the company insurance if I'm injured on the job. I do put money away into savings for my future, and I am blessed with an awesome cousin who is going in on a small home with me once we have enough for a down payment. I greatly appreciate the sweet comments and reading your stories of choosing happiness with whatever career you pursue. As for the rude comments and well, I'm sorry my life choices offend you, and I hope your weekend is as delightful as you are. Know someone just like you who inspired me to get a tiny house. She got a second job for 3 years, just long enough to get the deposit for the tiny house of her dreams. What she pays for the loan and to park in her park, which includes electric, water, Wi-Fi, is the same she was paying for her part of the rent and utilities for a shared apartment. She'll have the tiny house paid off in 7 years and it will be hers forever. She said those 3 years sucked, but now she owns her own roof and is back to working as a dog trainer walker 20-30 hours a week. She loves her life. This reminded me of the time I was working as a cleaner. Happened often when people would ask what I do for a living. When I answered, it felt like they were either looking me down or felt sorry for me. I was and still am proud that I used to be a cleaner. It is not an easy job. Wait, why is your roommate talking shit about your financials when you all live in the same damn apartment? She clearly isn't rolling in it either. I'm still in high school. I'm a gearhead who wanted to own several cars. Then I realized I'm not going to be a doctor or an engineer. I realized I'll just buy one of my dream cars that will never be a head atchie to find parts for. And I also decided I'll become a journeyman mechanic because my welding teacher really showed me that working in the trades are not something to be ashamed of. Working trades is awesome. I wish more high school students were shown that trade schools are another option if college isn't the right fit. I know a good amount of union and non-union trade workers who actually end up making great money with awesome benefits. Honestly, going into trades can be almost as lucrative as being an engineer, and you can still get the fun cars. I know some people in the trades. It is hard work but totally worth it. and there's currently a huge shortage of workers, so you're in luck. Good on you for recognizing that there's other ways to go in life. Keep at it, that's good, bro. I'm 18 and graduated high school already, alhamdulillah. Right now I'm going to a technical college to get a certificate or degree or whatever in network engineering. Like you, I enjoy cars, I really do. Drifting. Joy rides in the most bizarre times. Hell, snow, blizzard or rainstorm. I'll get the urge to drive and just really go anywhere with no sight. Of course, it is not as interesting driving a Camry en fa. What kind of car would you like if you could have buy them? Me personally, I'd love a TR-35, Hellcat, Red Eye, Trackhawk, Set Durango, and possibly every Tesla that came and comes out. I'm tradesman. My last job, as a fiber optics foreman, I made over 100 in a year. Company vehicle and gas card. Crazy good insurance I didn't pay for 400 wonk. Lots of work. Lots of responsibility, lots of stress. Which is why I left for a job making about half that but same perks despite what people may tell you. To excel in the trades you need to be smart. I went to college for history for 3 years, and it was honestly easier than some of the stuff I deal with since I was a kid. I have never had an expectation of becoming rich. I mean, I fantasize about winning the lottery, but it is a fantasy. To actually become rich and work for it, never. I am not smart enough for that. I feel you. Being rich is a nice fantasy, but going through the grind and bullshit to become rich never appealed to me. Like if I got lucky and somehow came into a shit ton of money, I wouldn't complain. But I have no desire to work myself to death for some goal of being able to buy a mansion and 5 sports cars. Besides, so left. T.I. Totally. Follow, food, do, follow, boy. Follow, you buy. Follow, all I desire is enough to get by without worrying about how to pay the bills. I know rich may not be some people's goal, but don't put yourself down because of it. Have you seen some of these people that have lots of money, some not so bright? I think everyone has the chance with the right mindset. When I realized I couldn't do mathematics worth a shit, I feel this. That's when I kissed the prospect of a Bachelor of Science degree goodbye. I didn't learn until much later that there is a math learning disability called dyscalculia. It would have been really nice to know about that all those years I struggled with math. I had perfect scores in every other subject, a natural with grammar and spelling, but absolute shit at math, which is the hallmark red flag of dyscalculia. It literally would have changed the course of my life had I been able to get accommodations. Right before I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Biochemistry. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life, and I barely eked by. Meanwhile, my peers looked like they were doing it with ease. Secondly, I haven't gotten a job in my career field, so I'm just living as comfortably as I can. I'm nowhere near what I thought I'd be when I was younger. This still isn't so bad, at least. There's millions of people who have life far worse off than I ever will. Same, I'm now looking at graduate programs for health careers. I'm now looking pro for health I was so upset when I was looking for jobs. The average hourly pay for entry-level positions was $14 an hour. How the hell can anyone make ends meet on that income? I made more working part-time at a restaurant through college. Hey there, I graduated with a BS in biochemistry as well. Was definitely the hardest thing I had to do either. Basically almost failed out of the major my final year. I'd like to ask what your dream career field would be. Took me a long time to realize that academia and medical weren't the only options I could take for a career with the degree I have. I got 3 months from finishing my bachelor's in chemistry and suddenly realized that I was done with it. I'd learned all I wanted to learn and wanted to move on. I dragged myself a respectable grade through quarantine exams though. So that's nice. I got a study work program for a year, which I'm super grateful for. But when people ask me what my plans are once that ends in June, I have nothing at all to tell them. I don't know what or where I'm going. Some people are so poor, all they have is money. Bob Marley. I have 3 kids and no money. Why can't I have no kids and 3 money? Homer Simpson. If this is my place, cause I come from money. But I did not know we were rich until I was in college. No kidding, my parents provided us with all the basics and there was extra love when it came to spending time with the family, many dinners and lavish together time. But none of my siblings and I grew up respecting money. I don't know if it's cause we didn't need it or it wasn't a matter of pride or respect to have it. On the other hand, my cousins same background as us. So snobby and condensing. Literally my earliest memory of them is knowing that they are super rich and we are poor because of how they treated us cause we didn't have luxuries. They thought as kids we couldn't afford it. So, in my experience, this line to me is a reflection of my life weirdly. Once the bills are paid, more money doesn't make you happier. In my experience, those that make very high salaries, 250 via a profession, are in a near constant effort or maintaining and always looking for more. That's its own form of servitude. Great line.
Like and subscribe for more Reddit content. Watch the next video at the top of your screen.